Dennis Rodman, and Draymond Green. It was a chosen path. Lambeer and Draymond were better offensively, but they played the wrestling heel too. And with that, it gets messy. So last night's another Draymond night. He gets a foul. It's obviously a technical foul. They go to the replay. You could argue it's a flagrant. I wouldn't, but some would. Now, he has toed the line his entire career. I don't see him as a victim, but I have defended him. I defended Lambeer and Rodman. They are great at what they do. They provide an edge and toughness. They're annoying. They get into people's heads. Now, Draymond also has some impulse control issues, and Steph Curry and Steve Kerr are often almost therapists during these outbursts. It's interesting, Draymond actually statistically gets more technicals when Steph Curry doesn't play. So there is something psychologically about Draymond when his guy, when the star's gone, he gets ramped up. Then later in the game, he's on the bike. Draymond has an altercation with a fan. A fan says something inappropriate. The fan, it's a slur, gets tossed out of the game, as he should be. There's knuckleheads everywhere. And afterwards, Draymond Green was very upset about an agenda and how he is often viewed in his eyes.
I look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
Now, I have said this before. I have employed him for several years. He's as coachable as any employee I have because Tom Izzo and Steve Kerr are tough coaches, so he likes to be coached. He gets along with people. He's totally professional. But he has chosen the path, like Bill Lambeer did, to be a confrontational player. With that path in life comes fame, comes riches, and it gets messy. I went to a Bill Lambeer game and heard people attack him in the layup line before the game. That is the path Lambeer chose. He didn't have to do that. And Draymond Green, last night with Steph out, you knew the crowd was going to be all over him. So that's the path he has taken. But I would say with Lambeer, and I'm old enough to remember Bill Lambeer with those Pistons, that Lambeer and Draymond are effective, they're complex, they embrace it. It is a very volatile path to take.
Okay. The reality is, though, is that this is not really the story. And this is because basketball is so star-powered and Steph Curry's not there. Imagine if Steph Curry played and they still lost 117-93. The conversation would be about, oh, what's going on with the Warriors? Can they still win? You know, Steph Curry was, only 3 for 10 from 3 or whatever. What do they need out of Steph? Did they get enough out of Jimmy Butler? But since he's not there, people find this now instantly less they find it instantly less interesting. Again, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're probably a Golden State Warriors fan or Minnesota Timberwolves fan. And, you're going to find this interesting. You want to win. You care. This is your team, whether Steph's there or not. But the reality is the general fan is like, I'm here to watch Steph Curry and the Warriors, not Draymond Green and the Warriors or whatever. And so they're like, okay, let's make Draymond Green the story now. I don't think the refs have that agenda. I think whether that should have been a technical or not, I'm on the fence, and I defend Draymond Green all the time, and I've talked about this before. Like, my style of play was very much like Draymond, obviously nowhere near his level, but it's just like, I know Draymond's game. I know it because I was confrontational with the refs, all of it, that's how I earned my spot on teams, was just being so physical, so tough, out hustling everyone, doing all the dirty work, doing everything you can. And so I get it. I see his game as loud as clear, and it's spoken to me from day one, from the jump, because it was like, oh, if I was better, that's what my career could have become, right? If I was just bigger and stronger, then that's could have been me. But it was also kind of crazy because I also looked at it too, where it was like, I settled down emotionally and mentally because I wasn't good enough. I got humbled. It was like, I need to be, I need to be better. I'm not good enough to be fighting with the refs as much as I am, or I'm not good enough to be able to be kind of this loose cannon. Coaches aren't going to want to work with me. I wasn't inevitable. Draymond Green was inevitable. So like he can keep getting away with this stuff because he's so wildly important to these teams. And I've talked about that. I think him and Steph are one of the best duos in NBA history, and I stand by that. I mean, Draymond Green is special, but what that comes along with some of this stuff. So I don't see it as an agenda. I see it as like it is a part of it. There's no agenda. And when he brought in race, like I actually have more issues with him even bringing in race, because like this is the NBA, man. Like look at the court, look who's all there. No one's trying to single you out in that regard. And you can be an amazing father and have an amazing life off the court. Like everyone's looking on the court right now. We just are. You could be the biggest Warriors fan, the biggest Draymond Green fan, and I think you could be like this. That really has nothing to do with anything right now. I mean, I really don't think it does. I made the video ripping Luka for him always crying and complaining to the refs, and people said they had an agenda against him and how he got thrown out of the game, and Nick Wright was like, this is ridiculous, I can't believe this happened to, this would never happen to Draymond, and I ripped that as well, so it's just like this transcends it, it really does. We're talking about the NBA right now, so I take issue more than anything, but I'll defend it because that clip, he's clearly emotional. He's clearly worked up. He's clearly upset. They just lost. Steph Curry's not there. He knows it's tough without Steph. And I think that this team really believed that they could win a championship. And now you start to feel like, is that slipping away? And they know that Steph and Draymond, they know they're at the end of their career. They know they only have so many more years left of being able to really do something special. And these guys want to win more than anything. And this is a massive obstacle that they have to try to figure out how to overcome it. And maybe they will, but last night, they did not, right? They failed technically, right? They failed the challenge that they had before them. And it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough thing, and I think that's why we got the reaction from Draymond that we got. But in terms of him like being dirty or flailing and doing that, the reality is it's just like what all these guys really do. The problem is the NBA has become so ridiculous where everybody wants to exaggerate everything. Draymond Green exaggerated his body because he knows he's going to be a little extra physical. Like he knows. He also doesn't have the best. He doesn't have the same level of mastery over his body that these other players have. I mean, you see the gracefulness of even like a Ja Morant, who I rip all the time, but like, you could just see the way how they can control their body. Draymond doesn't have that. Draymond looks like he has two left feet. Seriously, sometimes even when he passes the ball, the way how he pushes the ball down the court and like how his like leg kind of kicks out. I mean, like he looks goofy. He literally, if you didn't know how great he was, you would be like, oh, he's an athlete. He's a great player. Like he looks goofy so often. Look how he shoots threes. I have a nicer shot than him, okay? I have a nicer shot than him. And look how he shoots threes. It looks ridiculous. So you're going to open yourself up more for those types of moments that look like he's intentionally trying to do something when in reality he just does not have the same level of control of his body as like Steph Curry, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, name anyone you want really. But I mean, there's so many moments throughout a game that Draymond Green just looks goofy because it's just like he doesn't have the same level of athleticism and agility as some of these other more graceful players. So you're going to open up the door to that. But he does also feed into it and exaggerate a little bit because, again, I understand it. But then on the flip side, on the receiving end, you have these same players that just act like that they were just punched in the face. I mean, like the dramatization of all of this, against the Kings when Sabonis or whatever got stepped on and he was like acting like his chest just caved in and that his heart exploded. And it was just like, dude, you barely got touched. Not to mention you grabbed his leg and twisted it. And even this, I think it was on Nas Reed. He was just like acting like he was just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go to the hospital now. My neck and my face and my teeth and my eyes and my hair and my skull. And it's just like, everyone calm down. Like this is insane. And I don't even blame some of the players for feeding into it. It's how you get the flagrant. It's how you get, the ball and shots. So like, I get it. I really do, but like it's all become so exaggerated. And that's when I think then you start to say that there's like this villainization of, say, like Draymond. If you want to say like, that's where I could see that there is more of an agenda, because now this becomes a talking point. But I think like, again, we're in the playoffs and we're talking about this because Steph's not there. We don't have anything else to talk about, and people love to talk about this. Everyone does like a good villain, and so, you know, I can guarantee you, and I'm probably not even going to make the clip, but like I guarantee you, Nick Wright's going to like be like, you know, they're going to have a whole thing about it, and truthfully, I'm probably going to skip that clip because like I don't feel like honestly, because I don't feel like talking about it, and I've already said all I can say right now, and I don't really feel like listening to what they have to say, because I know I'm also just going to fundamentally disagree with it, and I like to be exposed to differing opinions, but that is where I feel like everybody will act like it is more serious than it actually is. I'm all for counter takes, but only when I think they're genuine, and I think where there is an agenda is like, let's build this up to being so much bigger than it is. That I don't like. That I take issue with, and it's like I don't want to hear that. And fortunately, Colin's not doing that. Like, Colin's defending him, but I can just all but guarantee you're not getting those takes from other people. And I'm just like, you know, if you really want to talk about it from a more grounded perspective and say, hey, does this hold back Draymond? Is this something that he should evolve with? This, that, like, let's have a real conversation. But I'm all for that. All for that. But like, to try to pretend like this is just like the most earth-shattering thing in the NBA, or like this was the story, you know, it's only a story because the Warriors lost and Steph's not there. I was prepared to come in and talk about the Warriors game and them losing, and it was like, for 1 minute, it felt like that they were going to be able to make this game, you know, a close game and a real game, and then it just got away from them. And like, you know, I want to talk about like their lackluster defense, and you know, they weren't confident on offense, and they weren't confident on defense, and you know, I think their defense was largely inexcusable, because Steph Curry not being on the floor should have nothing to do with the level of intensity and the high level defense you play. If anything, you can make the argument that the defense should improve with Steph Curry off the floor. Someone like a Jonathan Kuminga should be better defensively than Steph Curry. If not, well, then you should not be in the NBA at this point, or you certainly shouldn't be on the Warriors. Like, get him off, you know, trade him, get him, whatever you can get. Like, you know, GP, like, there's all the other guys that are on the bench who are bigger, stronger than Steph Curry, should all be better defensively. So if Steph Curry is not on the court, then the defense should be even better. And it simply was not. The offense, obviously, like, that makes sense. I'm not expecting all these players to be able to step up and just, you know, pick up the slack for Steph Curry there, which is why it's like, well, you got to double down defensively. And it didn't feel that way. And then offensively, I know Steph's not there, but there was too many moments when they were just kind of like, we don't even know what we want to do. And I get it, because it's like Steph is such a massive force, but like, you play plenty of minutes without Steph throughout the season, throughout a game. It's not like Steph is playing full. It's not like he's a quarterback where he's always out there. You know, it's so it's just like, this should have flowed a little bit more. And I didn't really see players, you know, really anyone, quite frankly, that wanted to rise to the occasion, that was ready to be like, I know Steph's not here, I'm going to step up. If anything, I would have loved to have at least seen one of them just be like, I'm going to try to take over. I'd rather come here and say, I think Buddy Hield did too much. I think Kuminga tried to do too much. They were trying to fill Steph's shoes. I would have been happier saying that, because that was more something that I could like really isolate, diagnose, and it feels a little bit more solvable. But this was like, I feel like Steve Kerr is going to be like, guys, I need someone to step up. Who wants to step up? And Jimmy Butler's just not help. I mean, he keeps doing the same thing again and again and again. He won't pull the trigger shooting, and he drives, he stops, and he does his pump fakes, and his body does not feel good. It's the most obvious thing ever, because normally he would go for these physical, tough contested shots, layups. He'd contort his body. He'd go like underneath, flick of the wrist, fall down to the ground. And he's not willing to, because I don't think he can. I think it would be like, he's probably just a hard fall away from just not even being in the game anymore. I believe that. And so it's just like, that is obvious. That is clear. And so like, this is where, if you're a Warriors fan, it is frustrating, because you are kind of hoping it's just like, why can't Kuminga just rise to the occasion? Like, why can't he be like, why can't he at least just use his physical strength and speed? Like, we saw him, get a dunk on Gobert, and you're just like, if I was Steve Kerr, I'm like, I don't want you to shoot. I don't want any threes, any mid-range. You're just doing dunks and layups. And I mean real layups, not like these forced layups. I'm like, unless you can just gently, lay it off the backboard and into the basket, you're not doing it. Dunks and layups, that's it. We are using your strength, your speed, your physicality, your agility. Like, that's it. That's all I want you to do. And it's just like, be a small version of Giannis, kind of, or at least earlier on in his career. I don't want you doing anything else. Anytime you try to do anything else, you try to get fancy, you try to act like you're actually like Kobe Bryant, it looks awful. It looks literally painful to watch, and you're just like, oh my gosh, what is this? And like that's hurting the Warriors. And then Moody, he's shrinking. It's tough. It's a tough one. They got to rise to the occasion, and they're not right now. I mean, even in this game, I know Draymond Green is getting better, and he's hitting those threes. He should not shoot 6 threes. He should not be shooting more threes than Jimmy Butler. Okay? Buddy Hield should not only have 3 more threes, and I know this was different a little bit because obviously the score, they 29 minutes and stuff like that, but like, he only shot 3 more threes than Draymond Green. He only shot 4 more times than Draymond Green. Pods, who is a significantly better shooter, shot less than Draymond Green. That can't be the game plan. Even if Draymond Green is wide open, it can't be the game plan. And I know to a degree, Kuminga, he didn't play awful, but you still have to look at it in the flow of the game. In the flow of the game. There's moments when it was like, okay, Kuminga, that's why at first I'm watching this game and I think like, hey, Kuminga actually looks pretty good. Like this could maybe work. He's having the game that I think he could have. And then it just gets disconnected. And the reason why I'm extra hard on Kuminga is because I expect him to be great. Like, that's really what it comes down to. In this type of game, I expect him to go for 25. Again, 8 for 11 is not bad. So it's, again, like, it's better than it has been in the past. So I don't want you to take my earlier comments as me saying like, oh, Kuminga, didn't show up or is bad. But it was like, this is one of those random games that like you have him go for like 30, right? We've seen this throughout the entire history of the NBA. We see it even with the Minnesota Timberwolves, with McDaniels or Connolly or Naz Reid. Like, they randomly go off and they're putting up 30, 28, whatever it may be. It's like, that's what you need from Kuminga, but it needs to flow within the game. He was getting rebounds, and I love that. I mean, like, he was using his size and his strength and his speed and his youth. It's like, that's what I want to see you do. But it still just feels like someone who's really hustling in a rec league, and it just doesn't always fit in the flow. That's what's always tough. And then again, Moody, 0 for 5, 0 for 4 from 3. A bunch of their shots were not good shots. Ugly. I don't know. This offense felt so disconnected, and the defense felt so lackluster. And clearly, post. Steve Kerr abandoned that very quickly. He's like, hey, he's gonna start. Never mind. He's barely even gonna play in the game now. That's what it felt like. I think this is actually kind of perfect. Unsure. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can play a game where they don't feel so unsure, both offensively and defensively. They get to go home. I was hopeful that they could, even if they lose the game, it could feel like they have a chance. And that's what was pretty nice at one point of the game. Forget what quarter it was. It was the second quarter, the third quarter, when it was like down to like 7-8 points, whatever it was. And you're just like, okay, like if they could even if they lose this game, it still inspires and motivates everyone to realize like, hey, we can still do this. Let's go. And yeah, the game just got away from them. So I'm just looking for a more connected Golden State Warriors team, and a team that just feels like we actually have a plan to win this game, rather than, well, Steph's not here, let's just see what happens. This game was like, let's just see what happens. And again, I think everybody was unsure, the players, the coaching staff, etc. So I'm curious to see what strings they pull for game 3. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Golden State Warriors, about the game itself, how it unfolded, Draymond Green, and anything else? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.